I'm speaking with Dakta, one of the most notable activist figures in New Zealand. For more than 20 years, Dakta has been fighting against prohibitive marijuana laws, standing firm on behalf of medical marijuana users throughout New Zealand and around the world. Dakta, what is the current state of affairs with respect to efforts to legalize or at least decriminalize the use of cannabis, especially for health reasons?
What is the state of cannabis prohibition laws in the world, and particularly in New Zealand? You can't be part of the campaign to eradicate these prohibition laws anywhere in the world without being related and connected to everybody else that's part of the same fight. It is a worldwide movement to change this law. And the reality is that we're very close. There is more noise being made by more important people on a regular basis. The United Nations report just a few days ago is a classic example of that, where we are continuing to see over the last few months former politicians coming out and saying we need to change these laws. Now, they stuck to the party lines whilst they were a serving politician, but now that they've retired, they see the error of their ways. And we in the cannabis culture think that's obscene and that it's time for our current members of parliament, wherever they are around the world, to see that it is time to change this law. So we are gathering in strength, we're gathering momentum, and it will all happen at the blink of an eye.
Who is we in this case? Is this the people of New Zealand? Is this a particular group or organization or conglomeration of organizations?
The we goes from everybody who doesn't smoke but thinks that prohibition laws on cannabis are wrong, through to those that toke on a daily or hourly basis, such as myself. Anybody that thinks that prohibition laws against cannabis are based on any sound scientific reason or fact is just deluding themselves. So there's a vast majority of the populations around the world that are in favour of cannabis legalisation and regulation as the correct and proper way of dealing with any perceived harms related to cannabis. The only reason that we don't have a legally regulated market in cannabis in New Zealand today is because our members of parliament lack the political will to carry it out.
Considering that there's such popular support that the people in general don't have a problem with cannabis, why doesn't that pass on to the politicians? The UN report is one point that you just made. In California, they had a popular referendum that was barely defeated, and it took a tremendous amount of political will to defeat it, which says a lot. Why don't the politicians respond to that kind of popular input?
Firstly, California did not lose because of a well-orchestrated political campaign. There were supporters of legalisation that didn't support that particular measure. It will romp in next time. There's clearly a majority of people in California in favour of a legally regulated adults-only market. And there are people that supported that just didn't like the measure. They didn't like some of the taxation measures that were included in that poll. And why won't politicians deal with it? Because there are a vocal minority that will accuse them of being weak on crime. This is the problem that we have, that cannabis being treated as a crime means that we're subject to this law enforcement fear in the community that's engendered by crazy, drugged-out, drunk people. As long as we have politicians that will play games with our lives, then there's not going to be any change. Our movement is a popular movement, a movement that will come from the grass ups. The people will tell our members of parliament that it's time to change it. And we're very close to that point. There will reach a time when members of parliament will not be able to stand in public and maintain a prohibitionist line. They will be laughed away from the cameras.
As an activist, you take the risk that your efforts may result in arrest and incarceration. You have been to jail before on behalf of the cause of cannabis decriminalization, and you may be incarcerated again for your stand. Your sentencing hearing is coming up shortly. On what charges are you about to be sentenced?
I've been found guilty by a jury of 3 charges. One of selling cannabis, one of possessing cannabis for the purpose of sale, and the third conviction is permitting premises to be used for the commission of crime under the Misuse of Drugs Act 1975, namely for permitting the smoking of cannabis to take place within the walls. It is true that people that are out in public advocating law change over cannabis are targeted. The reality is that we're not going to have people that are not part of our culture becoming outspoken advocates for law change. So we're a very easy target for police. In the main, they leave us alone. But if there is a direction or a newspaper reporter provoked this arrest of me in January of last year. A newspaper reporter, when we are seeking to develop our cause in the public mind, we talk to reporters on a continuing basis, not as often as we would like. A reporter came to the Dakta, saw illegal activities going on there, saw plants that growing, saw cannabis in jars. We talked openly about what it was that we were doing, and his immediate response was to go to the police. I think that's evil.
Considering everything you have been through over the past 20 years, and taking into account that you may be going to prison, do you have any regrets for the position you have taken on the issue of cannabis decriminalization?
Oh, of course not. Everything that I've done, if I could have done more, I would do more, and I will continue to do more. Cannabis prohibition laws are evil, and they deserve to be broken. I should be applauded as we now applaud people like Rosa Parks and Nelson Mandela. Sometimes laws are evil and they deserve to be broken to show how evil they are. Do I feel the slightest bit of regret? Absolutely not. For 2.5 years we have run a cannabis connoisseurs club in a country in the world that, after America, is the toughest on cannabis crime. We have more people in this country smoke cannabis per head of population than anywhere else in the world, and we're the second highest incarceration rate behind the US. So, no, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud that I'm part of the cannabis culture, and my friends are all part of the cannabis culture, and I love and admire them, and those are the ones I seek to impress, not the people that are anti.
I've been speaking with Dakta Green, a major New Zealand and global activist fighting to decriminalize cannabis. We wish him the very best. Hopefully, he will remain free from incarceration, but regardless, he will continue to inspire people throughout New Zealand and around the globe for the principled stand he is taking on behalf of health and freedom for marijuana users worldwide. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners?
The Dakta is a unique operation anywhere in the world. There is no one else that has attempted to set up a cannabis connoisseurs club in a place where criminal laws require people to be sent to jail for it. Within the four walls of the Dakta, we have learnt that our motto is the right way to live. We live like it's legal, and